afternoon, or good evening, everyone, and welcome to a new edition of our Live on ServiceNow webinar series. Today, we're going to talk about what's new in ITOM Visibility and ITOM Cloud Accelerate for the Q2 2024 release. As a matter of fact, we know that everyone here is going to be willing to know more about what we recently released so that the new features and new enhancements can help you succeed in many of your business use cases. As I just said, this session is part of the Live on ServiceNow webinar series, which is an interactive event series that is going to help you with the implementation, deployment, and adoption of our solutions to really eventually achieve value in a faster way. And you can see the schedule by just scanning this QR code right here. And you will definitely be prompted to the whole series. And even at the end of this event, we're going to make sure to share this slide again. Now, a few housekeeping items for today's session. Please make sure that everyone is muted, and please also make sure to use the Q&A feature if you want to ask questions. And we're going to have a few polls, so please make sure to engage as you usually do in these sessions. This session is also being recorded and will be shared with the ServiceNow community, and also it will be available on YouTube. And also, after this session ends, you'll be prompted to fill out a short survey. So please make sure that you fill that out. You share feedback with us so we know how to improve constantly these sessions. Now, a quick introduction for those of you that don't know me. My name is Gian Mario De Luigi. I'm part of the outbound product management team for ITOM, covering visibility and cloud accelerate. And we are right now with my peers in our team leading a series of workshops that are worldwide. We covered already 16 cities this year. We've interacted with many of you in real life. We brought the value of the cloud accelerate and ITOM visibility solutions. So it's great to also be leading these webinars so we can reach out to more and more of you. But before we keep going, please make sure that there is a safe harbor notice for today's session, so we could potentially make forward-looking statements, and just so please be consider that these statements could be actually used throughout this presentation. Now, before we even get started with the content, I want to just test out the audience here, because yes, we said that it's important to be updated on what's new with ITOM visibility in Cloud Accelerate, but we really want to make sure that we understand how are you currently checking for updates. Are you looking for updates on a regular basis right after every store release? Or are you doing that after every family release? So once every 6 months, let's say, so let's say twice a year. Or are you doing that once every year? Or are you still wondering where should you look for that? So I see a few answers coming in. Please make sure that you drop in your answers so we can terminate this poll. This is really for us to better understand what are your needs and how can we help you with that. I see answers coming in, so please make sure that you select your options, and I will end the poll in 5 seconds. And that's it. So if we see the results, as a matter of fact, we see the vast majority of you is only checking for updates after every family release, followed by those that are checking after every store release. And then those of you that are not sure where to find these updates, and then very few of you checking for once a year. So this is very interesting because this is the most important thing of today's presentation. If you want to really be up to date with our innovations, you need to check the store, the ServiceNow store, for the most up-to-date store apps. And if you want to look at what's new, you can check the release notes in our docs, in our website, but especially if you subscribe to your Live on ServiceNow webinar series, we're going to host quarterly sessions like this one for today, where we actually announce what's new and we go through the most recent innovation. So this is a great opportunity for you to know exactly what has just come with the Q2 store release. And thanks, Steve, for sharing that link, because in the background, we're going to have Steve Emerson, which many of you might have known, which is the director of outbound product management for ITOM, that is going to also assist you with the questions and assist us throughout the webinar. So please make sure that you keep those questions coming in the Q&A box. All right, let's say that we can start finally to see what's new, starting from the ITOM visibility side. We're going to keep the traditional agenda. So we're going to go through the highlights of, okay, what are the other new features and enhancements, and we're going to see them with a little bit more detail. As you can see from this slide, I'm not going to go through each one of these items, but you can see that throughout the most recent releases, there has been an incredible amount of innovation that has just been released. And even with the Xanadu release that is going to come up soon, and this Q2 release is part, let's say, of the broader Xanadu release, we can see that we still have a lot of innovation that we're going to cover today, but even if we look at Washington, Vancouver, etc., all these releases were carrying a huge amount of innovation. So please make sure that you always check the most recent versions of your store apps, and even for new store apps that may be available. Now, let's see what are the major new features and announcements. There's one that is huge, and we're going to see that in a minute, which is the Acme support in certificate inventory management. I'm not going to waste time on that because we have a dedicated session. Whereas for other new features and enhancements, yes, we still have certificate inventory management new features and enhancements, which is the ability to discover Java key stores and Windows certificate stores. Basically, you'll be now finally able to discover Java and Windows certificates on Windows and Linux machines, which increases hugely the amount of certificate discovery use cases for the certificate inventory management app. And then we are also supporting the discovery of certificates that are being issued by cloud native certificate authorities across major cloud providers. So across AWS, Azure, and GCP specifically. So these are huge announcements in the certificate inventory and management space. And then for those of you that are leveraging discovery and service mapping patterns, that's a very important app for you to really make sure they have the most recent patterns. So that's something that you definitely need to check on your store. We introduced enhancements in the Azure Cloud Discovery in order to optimize the cloud environments discovery on Azure. That means that specifically the virtual machine and hardware type patterns are going to only be triggered for the service accounts for the active regions. That means that it's a huge improvement, and the discovery of your Azure cloud environments is going to be tremendously enhanced. But now let's get into the main feature, the main new feature of this Q2 release for ITOM visibility, which is the Acme support. Now, for those of you that are familiar with Acme, it's essentially a new protocol that has been recently introduced and is more and more adopted, and it's been used by more and more certificate authorities, or I would say supported by more and more certificate authorities. So in case that you'll be leveraging any certificate authority that is leveraging this protocol, you'll be now easily able to fulfill certificate requests from any of those CAs. This is huge because it's not about supporting one specific CA anymore. It's about supporting any certificate authority that supports this. Now, we do include out-of-the-box support for Let's Encrypt and Entrust with Acme, but as we're going to see in a minute, you can really support any CA that supports Acme. And this is huge because you can save time and really reduce human error by fulfilling these certificate requests. and really having a larger coverage in terms of use cases. If we look at the fact sheet, you will see that, yes, we have clarified the reason why it's important for us to have introduced the Acme support and all the use cases that are being enabled. You can activate it by downloading the main release of the Certificate Inventory Management Store app. It is included with ITOM visibility entitlement. So make sure they have the either ITOM visibility V1 or V2 or any bundle that includes ITOM visibility, such as ITOM Pro or ITOM AIOps Enterprise. And here you see more details about the technical aspects and configurations of it. But now from a broader architecture level, I would like to say, and thanks Steve for putting more links to this so that you can see actually in the chat, Steve posted two very interesting resources that you should visit. If we look at it from a micro perspective, once you're defining your CAs in the Certificate Inventory Management app, once you're defining your routing policy, once you complete the DNS task, then it will be the Acme request to the CA that you want to select. In this case, again, we have out-of-the-box support for Let's Encrypt and Entrust, but any certified supported Acme CA is valid, and that means the any Acme powered CA can be included in this process. So this is really revolutionary. In terms of how it works with the product, now, if you look at the certificate authorities, once you will install the Certificate Inventory Management app, you will see that you have Entrust, Acme, and Let's Encrypt. There will be both CAs that are offered out of the box again and supported out of the box because they specifically for the Acme support. Either way, you can create new certificate authorities by clicking but just the button new from the previous interface, from the previous UI. But even in this case, when looking at Let's Encrypt and or a new record in general, we can see that when creating a new CA, we'll have an option to select Acme support. This is going to make it for you very, very easy to set up any Acme powered CA on your instance. After having set up your Acme powered CA, you'll be able to then proceed and create a credential. So the specific credentials that you will need for that. And in this case specifically, we can see that, yes, you will need the private key to be inserted, and it's basically to call the APIs when you're creating the CA account, and it's actually linked to the Acme account. And in this case specifically, we're creating a new record and we selected as Entrust as a CA type. We need to insert the key ID and the MAC key. And just you can notice that for key type, we can not only go for RSA, but also for ECDSA. And here, as we can see, depending on the CA type that we're selecting, we can always select the Acme option. And this will be done, of course, as you can read here, instead of the traditional username, password, and key store. So again, this is a really simplified operation to do. Then once we have set up the credentials, we can create a new routing policy by leveraging the CA that has been defined beforehand. In this case, we are selecting, in this example, the Entrust Acme certificate authority. Then we have a maximum validity period that in this case we can set up in a custom way, or for Let's Encrypt, it will be by default for 90 days. And then it will be the DNS task assignment group. So we can decide a specific assignment group that will need to perform the DNS challenge to basically validate the domain ownership. And once that is validated, we'll be able to proceed with the new certificate task creation. And as you can see here, we leverage the routing policy that we just created and the DNS task that has been just created, so we can actually proceed with a new certificate creation. Now, please keep the questions coming in the Q&A section. And in the meantime, we're gonna proceed with the second quiz for the day, and I'm gonna launch it now. We want to better understand, now that we have reviewed the Acme support for certificate inventory management, if you actually want to leverage this capability and when do you want to do so, or in case that you're not considering this capability, what is the reason for that? As an example, you're currently not leveraging Acme-powered CAs. And in case you're not leveraging the Acme-powered CAs, by the way, please feel free to answer in the Q&A box and specify why is your organization not leveraging Acme powered CA so we can have a better understanding of that. I see a lot of answers are coming in, so please make sure. I'm just going to give other very few seconds, so please insert your answer here and we can move on. I see also someone is sharing in the Q&A box. Right, so I'm gonna end the poll and we're gonna actually proceed. I see that a few organizations are still not leveraging the Acme powered CAs, but I see that yes, there's definitely interest there of leveraging the Acme support in the in the coming future. So thanks for answering. Now, let me see. Okay. Thanks. I see in the chat there have been a few comments on the reasons why. So we really appreciate your input and please keep the questions coming. We're going to have a dedicated Q&A section at the end of this session, but again, if you have any doubts, please feel free to, or any questions, just use the Q&A box for that purpose. Now, we can proceed to see what's new in Cloud Accelerate. And the agenda is going to be the exact same of what we've seen until now. We can see that, yes, we still have the value evolution slide, even in this case. And we can see that what used to be called the governance queue, which is now the ITOM Cloud Accelerate SKU, has evolved quite a good bit from the initial introduction in San Diego. And we are bringing, yes, a lot of innovation in this area. It's huge, the amount of innovation that we're bringing in this area. And today we're going to see exactly for Q2 what are the major and other enhancements. We're going to start from CSC that actually saw the introduction of new out-of-the-box catalog items, and we're going to see more details about it. Then we do have Cloud Account Management that has been released with its second version of Innovation Lab release. And then we have other new features and enhancements that are still very, very important. In this case, they're all concerning Cloud Services Catalog, which is the central part of our offerings. Specifically, we now offer a Terraform connector enhancement for GCP. So GCP templates can also be discovered with the Terraform connector integration. We offer the multi-repo support so that regardless of the structure of the repositories where your infrastructure as code is residing right now, we are able to discover those repositories, discover your existing infrastructure as code templates that you might have created to provision new cloud resources, and we can easily import that into CSC and create new catalog items so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. This is automated and this is super easy to do now with even more support for different types of repositories. And then we have also the introduction of the domain separation support for CSC. So for any of you that is interested in that use case, yes, now it's been validated, it's been tested, and it's there. And then when it comes to the Azure DevOps integration, we have an improved selection of your mid server. So you will have essentially enhanced performances when it comes to the Azure DevOps integration. So you can see that this is huge. This is going to help you tremendously in all these use cases. And then when it comes to end of life or sunset capabilities, for those of you that might be entitled to the Cloud Insight Building app, this is going to be sunset. And in the you'll need to migrate to the Cloud Accelerate SKU whenever you have an ITOM optimization entitlements. And in this case, in the migration, you will lose entitlement to Cloud Insight, which is now included in ITOM Cloud Cost Management. So let's get started with the CSC enhancements, starting from the Google Cloud Catalog items that are offered out of the box. What does this mean? We can easily offer self-service, and for those of you that are familiar with Employee Portal, this is exactly part of the Employee Portal experience. That's why we have Cloud Services Catalog. You'll have a dedicated section for cloud services, as you can see here. And we have out-of-the-box items for AWS, Azure, and now Cloud. And on top of that, we have an Ansible and Azure DevOps integration, which is also in form of catalog items. This means that any user will be easily accessing these catalog items out of the box. So you don't need to configure anything. This comes out of the box, and it will be essentially way easier for any user to now order these catalog items from this portal. We leveraged a Terraform integration. So if you don't have Terraform, don't you worry, we're going to use an open source version of that. And in this way, it's going to be possible to really provision these resources in minutes with full control. So you know who is authorized to order what. And that means reduction, or I would say optimization of cloud costs and optimization of performances, not only in terms of system performances, but also whoever is acting on these resources. You can see now the list of catalog guidance is pretty comprehensive, and it's available with the CSC Content Pack Store app. So whenever you're installing CSC, make sure they install not only Cloud Services Catalog, but also CSC Content Pack Store apps. Now, for those of you that are using Innovation Labs, and by the way, I want a thumbs up, or I want you replying in the Q&A section if you're leveraging or if you've ever used Innovation Lab, because it's one of the coolest parts of our store. Innovation Lab means essentially that you can try out the best innovation that we offer for free in your non-production environments. And cloud account management is one of these biggest innovations that we have introduced. And as a matter of fact, with Q2, we have introduced huge improvements to it by improving the interface, by introducing new personas. But you will be wondering, yes, but what is cloud account management? It's essentially a new central pane of glass from where users will be able to request for new cloud accounts, and from where approvers and provisioners will be able to fill out those requests and fulfill those requests, as a matter of fact, so that you have full control on your cloud accounts, and you can really manage those in the best possible way to optimize spend and to optimize resource consumptions. Now, there are technical aspects to it, and you can activate it again in Innovation Lab. So it's free of charge. You'll just need the visibility entitlement, and it's planned to be added to ITOM Cloud Accelerate SKU. But for now, again, there are no licensing implications. Now, you'll be wondering, how does this work? Well, it's very easy. We have the UI builder. We leverage the process automation designer. In the future, we'll leverage the Pace engine. But essentially, we have the integration hub that calls Terraform, which is actually getting the from the GitHub repositories the templates, and then it's calling actually via direct API calls the cloud environments, the CloudOrg API and Cloud Account APIs, so that that new cloud account will be automatically provisioned. So the architecture is super simple. The Terraform they will be leveraging is open source, so you don't need to worry about that. But yet this is super powerful because there are, as we're going to see in a minute, proper flows, proper processes that are set up there that you can essentially set up as you want. So yes, they are out of the box, but you can do whatever you want to have full automation. Now, if you missed the version 1 release, we essentially had the requester experience. So anyone wasn't, typically the requester would have been an engineering manager or in general a manager that was requesting for different accounts. Then we had an approver that was fully controlling who was entitled to get these new accounts and how were they configured. And then we had the provisioner experience, all these with support for AWS resources. And as a matter of fact, we kept that with the Innovation Lab 2 release. And then we have the processes and flows that were out of the box and there for you to be edited. So you could have as much automation as you want. Now, with the Innovation Lab 2, we have introduced 2 new users. So yes, you still have the requester and approver personas, and they have, as a matter of fact, you need 2 different profiles, basically, to access these 2 different UIs. But you will also have the CAM admin. There is going to be, it's actually a new renovated sort of approval, I would say provisioner experience. And then we have the certifier. So yes, cloud accounts now can be attested. You can do attestation on your cloud accounts. What that means that for any cloud account that you discover, you can actually assign a user. So you'll finally have attestation. So you know that exactly who is responsible for the cloud accounts and the resources that are being deployed within that. So this is huge. Now, the UI improvements have been there. So from the requester experience, there is a dedicated subscription accounts dashboard. So you can see the active, suspended, and closed cloud accounts. Instead, from the new CAM, so Cloud Account Management admin persona experience, we have, yes, new tab, so it's easier to navigate through the main information, the request configuration of subscription accounts, but also enhanced UI with request insight as being introduced. When it comes to the admin experience, we also have once the CAM admin is triggering the account provisioning flow, and the actual account will be eventually provisioned, not only will be brought back to a managed account, but also the child accounts, as you can see here, will be activated, and they will be basically discovered as unmanaged accounts. So this is another very important enhancement that has been brought there. Not only the main ones, but even the child accounts. And when it comes to the subscription accounts, you can go now to all the accounts. So all the ones that have been discovered, and they will be actually appearing under this UI. And then once selecting one, as we did here, the CAM admin can decide whether to manage each one of these accounts. And to manage these, only the AWS accounts are supported for now. So they can decide the account owner. And then we have the suspend experience. Basically, and again, if I was talking beforehand, we said, yes, any account will be managed. Yes, but for now, the managed account is only available for AWS because it's still in Innovation Lab release. So again, the Innovation Lab release is still a trial version for you, so you can try it out and you can provide us with feedback, and then we can go ahead and you can evaluate the product. Now, another cool feature is that you can now suspend accounts. So let's say that the account specifically has had a defined budget, and now it's at the limit of the budget, so they cannot have new provisioning. So when we suspend that account, that means that it won't be possible to provision new resources for that account, but it will still be active. And in the back end, basically service control policies will be put in place on the AWS side. And if you want to suspend an account, actually notice that there will be an approval task that will be generated. So that means that there needs to be an approver if you want, or if you want, you can automate that step. But out of the box, you need an approval, and you will receive an email and a task. And then The designated approver, as you can see from this UI, will determine whether to approve, deny, or cancel the request for suspension. Reactivation accounts is working basically in the same way, but it's just the reverse of it. So even in this case, you need to approve the task and the service control policies that have been put in place before will be removed on the AWS side. Now, talking about the automation processes and flows, these are very important because as you can see here, once you log in into the Process Automation Designer UI, you'll have customizable flows, actually processes that include flows and subflows and actions that can be changed. And these include the creation, reactivation, and suspension processes. As we can see here, we have the in the account creation, CAM subscription account creation process, we have not only the prepare, create workspace, create account flows, but we also have the post-provisioning actions such as run discovery and post-discovery operations. And again, just keep in mind that each one of these flows and subflows can be edited. So you can do as much automation as you want. And as a matter of fact, we can see that the account suspension and reactivation processes have been added to the Innovation Lab release. And you can also edit these ones, basically. They are, as you can see here, they're leveraging direct API calls to AWS and to suspend and reactivate these accounts clearly. Then the CAM certified experience. We also have this new capability of certifying the accounts. This is now supported for any potential account. But what does that mean? We have a dedicated CAM certification policy that is running. And we can view it actually from the CMDB workspace, as you can see here from this very same UI. So anybody that is part in this case of the ITOM CAM certified group can review each of those tasks that have been created in here. We have the certification tasks, and they are leveraging the CMDB data certification capability. And then the CAM certifier can decide whether to certify, fail, or review the records. The current CAM certification policy is actually only on aimed at certifying the ownership for each of the cloud accounts. So all the Discovery Cloud accounts are still supported with the CAM feature nowadays, and this is the limitation that we do not have for the AWS accounts. But the certification is certifying the ownership of these accounts. As a matter of fact, if we go into the data certification policies, we can see the published policies, and if we see the CAM certification policy here, this is out of the box, and this is available for the CAM admin certifiers. If we go into the subscription accounts view under CAM, for these users, we can see that the CAM admin can view the accounts that have been certified, failed, or pending. So this is a way to enforce attestation. And this is really powerful because any of these accounts can be certified in that way. Now, right, I see a lot of engagements and interest in the CMDB health space. I just want to launch the last poll for today, and I'm going to do that in a second. So, okay, I'm going to launch it now. We want to better understand from you now that you've seen how cloud account management is, first of all, it's free. And second is, again, an Innovation Lab release. So it's a really powerful way for you to really make sure that you can share your experience with us so that we can keep improving that product. And especially if you have visibility entitlements, you can test it out for free in your still prod environment. So I would say, why not, right? And I see a lot of you are putting their answers in here. I see a lot of participation, so I really thank you for that. And I see interesting preliminary results here. So I'm gonna end the poll in 5 seconds. So please make sure you keep your questions coming in, your answers coming in. Right. It looks like, okay, this is very interesting. I'm gonna end the poll now. And we can say that, yes, it's actually interesting that a lot of you can't wait to try this out. And otherwise, you're intentionated to talk to your cloud team. So this is great to hear. Yes, please make sure that you talk to your cloud team so you can collaborate on CAM. This is going to be one of the best and interesting features that we're going to release this year. So really breakthrough products. So you absolutely need to try that out. Now, before the next steps, I want to make sure that we address and we answer any questions. So is any other question for us? I see that Steve has helped actually answering most of these questions. So thank you for that, Steve. But any other last minute questions before we go into the next steps? You have this opportunity to talk to the product management team, so make sure you can leverage it. We're not going to expose you, of course. All right. In the meantime that you're typing there, we're going to go through the next steps. So first of all, if you want to meet the product management team in person and you want to learn more, not only about cloud accelerate and cloud acceleration concepts, but of course, also about ITOM visibility, we're leading a global workshop. And we're going to cover more than 30 cities this year. We've already covered about 16, and we have many more to come. So please make sure that you scan these QR codes. And typically, we will try to offer these workshops. They are 1 day each. We'll try to offer them back to back, so one after the other. So in case that you are interested in both, you can absolutely go to both cities. To both events in your city. And yes, we will definitely appreciate you showing up to these events. Now, you're going to learn more about our products, best practices. You're going to do hands-on experiences. So these are really intended to make sure that you understand what you're entitled to, what the capabilities of our products are, and how you can best use them. And if you want to join our future webinars and meetups, as I said before, make sure that you scan this QR code here because the Live on ServiceNow events are there for you. And I see questions about, okay, what is needed to enable the latest discovery and service mapping plugin on a PDI? And maybe Steve will take that on. Okay, are we planning?
Yeah, I can answer it, John. So I think there are some limitations as to what you can and cannot turn on a PDI. I would recommend going to your developer portal because we don't control that from the product side. The team that offers up the PDIs controls that, so they should have all the documentation available as to what you can or cannot request. Thanks, Jim.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Steve, for that. And then, are we planning to introduce CAM for Azure and when? Yes. So Safe Harbor notice, we're looking into trying to implement that over the next 2 or 3 releases. Of course, these are just rough plans. But if you have a specific use case where that's why we're suggesting to definitely let us know, and we'll try to help you out. But especially if you want to suggest anything around CAM, we do have the idea portal. So the idea portal is designed to give you the opportunity to essentially input your ideas and make sure that other companies can upvote them. So if 10 different people from 10 different companies will upvote your idea, that means they will be brought up straight to the product management team. So that's a great idea. Please make sure you leverage the idea portal as well. And now, if you want to actually have access to the previous sessions of our Academy for Visibility and Cloud Accelerate, where we discuss more in detail about the recent innovations, since a few of you were saying that it's been tough to really understand where the innovations are being discussed for ITOM Visibility and Cloud Accelerate. Well, make sure that you leverage the on-demand webinars that we have hosted this year and even before. You can either access this link, or you can just scan this QR code and you'll be prompted to the full list. Right. I don't see any other questions. So thank you so much, Steve, for supporting this webinar. Thanks everyone for the great interactions today. We are super excited about these innovations and we want you to try them out. Go to the store and download the most recent store app versions. And really, you can use the idea portal to communicate with us, tell us what you think about the products if you want to share more feedback with us, and we're super excited about it. So we are really looking forward to see you soon in our next webinars for our What's New releases, and also in general on our Live on ServiceNow webinars. So I'm gonna try, we just received a request to put the link for additional webinars in the chat, and that's exactly what I'm gonna do. So for anyone that is attending now, you can access the chat, and I just posted it there. And yes, you should be able to access that link. I'm gonna stop it here. So again,